So, when you think of the Greek god of the sea, one name just springs to mind, right? Poseidon. But here's the thing, the ancient Greek seas were a whole lot more crowded than you might imagine. We're going to dive deep into this incredibly complex and fascinating underwater world and meet some of the gods that time, well, kind of forgot.
You know, the philosopher Plato absolutely nailed it with this quote. For the ancient Greeks, the Mediterranean wasn't just some big body of water. It was literally the center of their universe. I mean, their cities, their culture, their whole way of seeing the world was built around this quote-unquote pond. And like any central part of life, they filled it with this rich, wild pantheon of gods to explain everything, its moods, its gifts, and its absolutely terrifying power.
Okay, so let's start with the one we all know, Poseidon, the big guy, the Olympian ruler of the seas. He's really our way into this sprawling, submerged mythology, but as you're about to see, he is far from the only god making waves out there.
Right, so as one of the three great sons of Cronus, alongside Zeus and Hades, Poseidon's power was immense. He wasn't just some abstract god of water, he was a major patron of seriously powerful maritime cities. And here's the surprise for you. If you go way back to the Mycenaean era, his name actually shows up on ancient tablets more often than Zeus's does, usually tied to the king or when X.
And this is where we see this fascinating split in his personality. We all know him as the trident-wielding lord of the sea, but he was also the creator of horses. Now, this tied him directly to the land, to kingship, and to the #1 sacrificial animal for ancient royalty. And this wasn't some minor side gig, it was a fundamental part of who he was.
And we see this deep connection pop up beautifully in Plato's story of Atlantis. In that myth, the most important ritual for the kings of that island was this nighttime horse sacrifice offered directly to Poseidon. It's just this powerful, lingering echo of that ancient link between the sea, the horse, and royal power.
But here's the thing. Poseidon, for all his power, was not the original master of the deep. Nope. He was preceded by far older, more elemental forces. So let's meet the sea's first gods.
So, was Poseidon's rule absolute right from the beginning? The answer, according to Greek myth, is a resounding no. The sea was ancient, and so were its original gods, and these were beings of a completely different nature than the Olympians we know.
And this is such a key distinction to make. See, the Olympians, like Poseidon, they were rulers of a domain. But the primordial deities, they were the thing itself. They were the personification of the natural world in its most raw form. They didn't just control the sea, they were the sea.
So you've got figures like Proteus, who was literally the essence of the sea, born from the earth without a father. Then you have Oceanus and his wife Tethys, and get this, in Homer's Iliad, they're considered the parents of all the other gods. And even the sea nymph, Thetis, Achilles' mom, was described by one poet as a kind of creator goddess, a shaper of the world. These weren't just rulers, they were the very building blocks of existence.
And this wasn't just poetic fantasy. These mythological ideas really laid the groundwork for early Greek science. A philosopher named Thales looked at these stories and basically developed a whole cosmology, where water wasn't just a home for gods, but the arche, the first principle from which all life sprang.
All right, now let's go even deeper. Beyond the primordials and the Olympians, the sea was just teeming with all these strange, enigmatic, and powerful figures who held the sea's greatest secrets. One of the most fascinating figures is the Helios Geron, which translates to the Old Man of the Sea. And this isn't just one specific god, but a recurring type, a wise, ancient, and often very tricky figure who embodies all the sea's deep knowledge and its hidden dangers.
So, what makes an old man of the sea? Well, first, he's a prophet. He knows all the secrets of the deep. He's also a shapeshifter, making him almost impossible to pin down unless a hero like Heracles or Menelaus can literally wrestle him into submission. And his kids, they always represent the sea's two faces. He's either the father of stunningly beautiful nymphs or absolutely terrifying monsters.
And we've got at least 3 major examples of this archetype. There's Nereus, who is known for telling the truth and for his gorgeous daughters, the Nereids. You have Proteus, the ultimate trickster, famous for his cunning and his constant transformations. And then there's Phorcys, who is known pretty much as the father of monsters. We're talking the Gorgons, the Graeae, and Echidna, all his kids.
And here's where it gets beautifully confusing. Phorcys, the father of all these terrifying creatures, was married to Ceto, and the poet Hesiod describes her as beautiful-cheeked. But her name, Ceto, it's just the feminine version of Cetus, the Greek word for a sea monster.
For the Greeks, beauty and monstrosity could spring from the exact same source. So, what's the legacy of this crowded, chaotic sea? For the Greeks, this divine underwater world wasn't separate from their own at all. It was constantly intersecting with their lives, shaping their religion, their culture, and their whole understanding of the universe.
You see, the sea wasn't just a physical space. It was a threshold, a zone where different worlds could actually collide. It was a place where the world of humans, the realm of the gods, and even the shadowy gates of the underworld could all meet.
Cape Tanaram is the absolute perfect example of this. On one level, it was just a physical landmark, a crucial point of navigation for sailors. On another level, it was a holy site with a shrine to Poseidon. And on a third, mythical level, it was believed to be an actual entrance to Hades, one that heroes like Orpheus and Heracles used to journey into the land of the dead.
This famous ode from Sophocles really shows you just how central the sea was to the Greek idea of human greatness. To build a ship, to navigate the storms, to chart a course through those swells that threatened to engulf him, this was seen as one of humanity's greatest triumphs over the terrifying divine power of nature.
And this brings us to a final, really crucial point: the link between the sea and human craftsmanship. Think about the Telcheans of Rhodes. They were half-fish demons who were also legendary metalworkers. Or Hephaestus, the divine craftsman himself, whose forge was on the island of Lemnos. And then you have the Kebiri, these mysterious gods who could save you from a shipwreck, but were also patrons of metalwork and secret rituals.
Okay, so let's recap. The Greek idea of the sea was this deeply complex world, filled with ancient primordial forces, shape-shifting prophets, and this constant, swirling mix of radiant beauty and terrifying danger. It wasn't just geography, it was a bridge. It connected mortals, gods, the underworld, and the very essence of human ingenuity.
The Greeks saw their world reflected in the depths of the sea. All its beauty, all its danger, its profound mysteries. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? As we explore our own oceans today, with all their wonders and all the threats they face, what parts of our modern world are being reflected back at us?